Hello everyone. In today's video we will learn how the Apollo spacecraft launches and how the spacecraft lands on the moon safely. The Apollo spacecraft was the amazing machine that allowed astronauts to walk on the moon. It contained the command module, the service module, and the lunar module. Before we learn more about these three modules of the Apollo spacecraft, let's learn about the rocket that gets us into an orbit around Earth. The Apollo missions used the Saturn V rocket. It measures 363 feet tall. The Saturn V was split into three stages. The first stage was named the S-1C, and was powered with 5 F-1 rocket engines. The second stage was called the S-2, and was powered with 5 J-2 rocket engines. The last and final third stage was powered by only one J-2 rocket engine. The three modules that we talked about in the start of the video were stored on the top of all the rocket stages. The lunar module was launched in the Saturn V. At the time of launch it was protected by 4 panels. The lunar module was used to land on the moon, and it was also used to leave it after. The service module contains the engines necessary to enter and leave lunar orbit. It also contains fuel cells and electric components. The command module is where the astronauts spend most of their 3 days in space. The structure you see beside the rocket is called the launch umbilical tower. There are 9 service arms that provide various heights that provide access to the Saturn V rocket. On the day of the launch, the astronauts will climb an elevator to the top service arm where they enter the command module. 4 of the service arms are retracted before the launch. The first stage ignites 8 seconds before the rocket leaves the ground. As the 5 remaining service arms quickly rotate to get out of the way, the command module will feel as much as 4 Gs, or 4 times the amount of gravity pushing the astronauts into their seat. The first stage shuts off at 2 minutes and 42 seconds after launch. Explosive bolts detonate, releasing the first stage. Then, the second stage fires up. The second stage shuts off at 9 minutes and 12 seconds. The third stage fires up for a short amount of time, to get the astronauts in a parking orbit of 118 miles. It's called a parking orbit because it's not high enough to stay in orbit for a very long time. It shuts off at 11 minutes and 39 seconds, but does not detach yet. After orbiting Earth 2 to 3 times and confirming all systems are good to go, the third stage ignites again for about 6 minutes. This is called a Translunar Injection. This is what sends the spacecraft away from Earth and towards the moon. By now, the third stage is useless. The 4 panels protecting the lunar module detach, which exposes the lunar module. The command and service module does a complete 180 degrees turn. The command module will then dock to the lunar module and pull it out of the third stage. After, they will do something called passive thermal control, which is when the spacecraft is put in a slow roll. This prevents some parts of the spacecraft getting too hot, while others getting too cold. The spacecraft has traveled for about 3 days to the moon. If all systems are good to go, it is time to enter lunar orbit. This is called lunar orbit insertion. As the spacecraft passes behind the moon, the service module engines fire up for about 6 minutes to slow the spacecraft down. At this time the spacecraft loses communication with mission control. The reason is that the spacecraft is on the far side of the moon. Now it's the time you were all waiting for. The landing on the moon. 2 of the 3 astronauts enter the lunar module and get ready to land on the moon. 1 stays behind in lunar orbit. The lunar module now extends its legs. If all systems are go, the lunar module will separate. The lunar module must get to a distance of 2 miles away from the command module to fire up the descent engine. The lunar module's engine fires up for about 30 seconds. This descends the lunar module down to 50,000 feet from the surface of the moon. Then the engines fire up again for powered descent initiation. The landing site has to be on level terrain. There is a limited amount of fuel, so the astronauts can't take too much time to land. Then touchdown. The first man to ever step foot on the moon was Neil Armstrong. The second was Buzz Aldrin. They flew on the famous Apollo 11 mission. If you would like to see about the space shuttle, you can click on the first link in the description. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe.